Everyone come back to order, we'll reconvene. Next item of business is amnesty period for code enforcement violations. We have multiple code enforcement violations on homestead property that just continues to increase fees and with no resolve of the property being cleaned up. And the reason that we ultimately put the penalty on them was to have the property cleaned up. So the neighbors are not receiving the benefit at all from it, and they're never going to clean the property up because it's homestead property, they're never going to sell it. Or if they ever do, they can't afford to sell this point. So I was wanting to see if the board would entertain the idea for a 60-day grace period, give them the ability, we'll send them a letter, have code enforcement send them a letter stating that from the month of X to the month of Y, that if they had the properties cleaned up and the code enforcement comes out and inspects the property and it meets the qualifications of what we deem necessary for the property to have the lien forgiven, that we forgive the lien and we ultimately got the goal of the code enforcement in the property clean. But it's just,
including like if they wanted to sell, they could.
Well, they could do the property. The lien can be forgiven by the county. Then the property can be developed or whatever, and the neighbor is not looking to blight.
So what do we know?
Then the lien stays. But there'll be an opportunity for the people that has the lien now to clean the property and we benefit the neighbors. The neighbor's property value will go back up.
Some of them have already been cleaned up. They haven't been through the paperwork process as well. Some of them have been given fees, fines, and I know of one particular that was fined and has got all these, but hasn't gone through the necessary paperwork just to get it cleared and get all this debt removed. So there's some of them that has already had fines levied against them.
Well, that'll take care of itself because Karen, Ms. Karen, I'm not putting any more work on our code enforcement. Cheryl, she'll send a letter out. If she has a spreadsheet somewhere, I'm sure, that shows every lien property in Washington County homestead or lien property period. She'll send a letter out to them, and there'll be correspondence back to her. She'll come out and inspect the property. If it's free and clear, we'll remove the lien and put the property back in good standings, and then the owner is back in good standings, and the neighbor has got a property that's clean and free to breathe.
Mr. Chair, I've been involved in this. I'd like to share this with you real quick. I agree with what you're saying. I think one of the biggest problems we have is that when code goes out and follows the letter of the law and how they notify the people, the liens, levy fines. And Matt, you correct me if I'm wrong, you were magistrate on some of these cases. Beyond that, we're helpless.
Yeah.
And the end result is this. The problem still exists. They don't care. And people are still looking at this stuff.
Can you lock them up?
I would like to know from a legal standpoint, is the county has the ability to put a little bit more teeth in this thing to enforce this?
I'd have to look at the statute again. I was just a code enforcement officer who enforced the liens to see when it ripened, where the county could foreclose on the lien. But then the question is going to come about how much money do we want to spend foreclosing through the legal process is what you have to do. You want to spend $3,000 foreclosing in legal fees for a $500 pile of trash. But I could look into that for you. We probably also need to go ahead at some point and appoint a new code enforcement officer. We just appointed John McDaniel. He lives between here and Jackson County in Grand Ridge. And it's the same procedure, so if you want to do that or take applications or...
I'm good with that recommendation.
We had trouble getting you.
Would he be willing to, do you think he'd be willing to do it?
He would, I already checked.
I'm good with it. I don't.
Probably need a motion.
Yeah.
I don't advocate telling someone what they can and can't do on property, but it's the law, and if it's the law, I don't know why the Florida statutes wouldn't allow you to, if they're violating the county law.
Yes, sir. if it's homestead property, all you can do is put, we've run into this in Vernon before, and I'm sure the law hasn't changed. All you can do is put liens on it. Now, if it's a commercial property, you can take the property, or you can actually clean the property and put it, and take the property for the value. We did that one time in
Well,
Vernon.
the city of Chipley was in there, I mean, they was tearing down houses and stuff. The city was over there.
But that's commercial property, not homestead property. There's a big difference. If it's homestead property, your hands are pretty well tied, but Mr. Fuquay would definitely gives back the
But
lease.
most of the ones I recall doing as code enforcement officer, they didn't live there. It was grandma's property or.
There's a big difference there.
And there was another one, residential, where they went in there and got a grant, since I've been with the county. And we got a grant and cleaned it up. Some of it was some hazardous material, tires and junk cars and stuff like that. And
Does somebody live there?
Yeah,
But it was the property owner lived there.
I think they had deceased. I'm not exactly sure with all the particulars.
He'll
It's right there on Griffin Road. It was the Griffin's place.
You'll get back with someone, but I'm pretty sure if it's homestead property. Mr. Atkins, you have something to say? I know this is a problem that you deal with.
Problem for years,
Yes, sir.
for years.
Yes, sir.
I would like to see it cleaned up.
Oh, I agree. And we're trying to find any avenue that we can to benefit the property owners, give them some sort of benefit out of it, to clean it up. And take, just so we can get our ultimate goal to have the property clean.
I
But-
appreciate that.
But my dates would be, this move on it relatively quickly, do it April 2nd to June, end of June, June 29th. Give them that period.
In the spring.
In June, 3 months.
And then, they'll give our code enforcement time to come out and inspect it. And if they have their paperwork in, if we have it inundated with it and they got their paperwork in, if our inspections run past that, then we still don't have the grace period, but they'll have to have their paperwork in by that time.
I'll make a motion to do that. That'll give us a chance to get a new magistrate on board, a new code enforcement officer, magistrate.
Magistrate, I guess, area officer.
And they'll have that period between now and June 29th. If they clean it up, they don't have to pay the fines that have been levied on them. But now I'd like to see us on June 29th. It'll give us a chance to figure out what teeth we can put in a law to make them clean it up. So, I mean, not only will they have the opportunity to get it cleaned up without having to pay the fines, they're also being warned, but on June 29th, we're going to do what we can do.
To the maximum length of the law.
I'm even open to the idea, it's not that Karen Shaw needs anything else to do, but I'm even open to the idea, can we get grants and then we'll go in there and hire somebody to clean it up? And what kind of abilities do we have to collect from them?
Let's
I wanna
finish.
look at the whole thing.
Let's finish. We got a motion real quick. Let's get a second. And we'll go on that.
Second it.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Abbott, second by motion by Commissioner Bush, second by Commissioner Abbott. Any other discussion? No discussion.
I would just like to see, Alan, like you, what kind of teeth can we really put in? And there's a couple that just.
In Marietta, the
That's
cost
their
of
lifestyle.
cleanup is added to the foreclosure amount, but I don't compare the two statutes.
And I know the city of Chipley has done similar, actually up to demolishing and demolition.
Yeah.
Demo house.
And if we need to look through our ordinance in the county, and if our ordinance is not written as strong as it possibly can be, I want it written as strong as it possibly can be.
You're gonna try to wait some time, and it can't
Yeah.
It's been years. I sat on the board. It's been years.
And so, by the 29th, we should have all this worked out and ready to move forward. The magistrate, the ordinance written, advertised as strong as we possibly can get it, and actually be able to do something about
Especially if
it.
we're going to take code enforcement over for the municipality.
Exactly. So,
Mr. Chairman, I can tell you this right now. Right here, around us, we have dilapidated structures that are atrocious. There's been fines and liens going on this thing for years and years, and nothing happens. The one other one I was talking about was specifically about Mr. Ackland's
yeah.
situation. I think if we can find a way to put some teeth, because these people, what if they say, no, we're not going to do it? Well, are we still in the same place, or can we move forward in some way?
And with no better timing, we'd love the media coverage as far as we could get it to allow people the ample opportunity to utilize our Amnesty Day this weekend, the 17th, from 8 to 12.
Well,
We'll have plenty of help on site. So please get the word out and utilize this. This is something the county, I'm very proud the county can provide, and let's utilize it to the fullest benefit of the county to take care of some of the blight. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask Mr. Fuqua on the McDaniel. When we hire someone like that, how do we establish what the rate is?
Why don't you just have them the same rate you hired me at? I don't remember what that was.
It was so much per hour, and then, but I'm going to put 4,000. Put 4,000 in,
Yeah.
and then 150 an hour.
What was it again?
We put like 4,000 in, like 150 an hour.
It's 150 an hour.
And we tried to schedule them,
Yeah,
so there'd be
a
4
bunch
or
of them
5
at
at
one
one time.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'll,
Take that. You want to
the
take that?
chairman, permission, I'll make a motion that we proceed with the hiring of
John.
John McDaniels as our code enforcement officer / magistrate.
At the same rate
At the
previous,
same, at our
current rate.
current rate.
Okay, I have the motion.
I'll second that.
Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
There come June 29th, we'll have that.
Yeah, that's right.
You want to make his official date June 29th? His start date?
Yeah, but
July 1.
well, for the simple reason is I don't think we have anything out. Mr. Massey, do you know of anything that we have that's pending right now? Anything that's going to require magistrate's office?
No, I do not think we have anything at present.
July 1 then, we'll start it.
And that might be something else to take into consideration when we're trying to establish what the charged municipalities is how we're going to handle their cases with our magistrate.
I think we need to look at the city of Chipley policy too. I mean,
West Palm Beach, look at West Palm Beach.
This come to a head
all
because
neighborhoods.
we had a case that our code enforcement officer put quite a bit of time into, and then when it got to the special magistrate couldn't hear it because it was in the city of Vernon.
Yeah.
And so we've already determination one time previously, so that's why. Oh, this is the favorite part of the meeting here.
Yes, it
Employee handbook, human resources.
It
I want to brag to these two. They
Fine.
go above and beyond. I'm talking about I don't know if human resource is really the title that we.
No, I don't think it's appropriate.
It's a catch-all.
I think that's kind of the office that just gets a little bit of everything from GPS reports to human resources to
Insurance, every vehicle insurance, any kind of insurance.
animal control. Speaking of our new, well, I'd like to introduce our 2 animal control officers as well. Inventory control. All right.
Some days that would be music to our ears.
I know, I love it.
IT.
Yeah.
We've already talked about mowing this week one time, so we're in good shape.
That's good. Okay, we're glad to be here this morning to finally talk about the handbook. We've met with each of you individually and gone over it. Do you want to go through every item, or do you want to just hit where we have the comments?
Just hit the highlights.
Okay, all right. Our first one will be on page 14.
You have to share your copies.
What you have there, you have the handbook, okay? And on the back, the last 2 items that you have is our drug testing policy. Our drug testing policy was actually written by the Constantia Group to meet the federal laws. So anyway, would like to get that approved if we can today as well, or if you need more time on that, but we'd like to have it in sync. The first item on page 14 under solicitation and distribution, there was a comment that we got that they would recommend changing the wording. We say the term working time does not include an employee's authorized lunch or break period or other time when the employee is not required to be working. There was a recommendation, because we are paid for lunches, is that maybe working time is not appropriate there. Okay.
Because if something happens on lunch hour, you're still workers' comp and all that.
That's
stuff.
exactly right. And we might could say for purposes of this section, you know, working time does not include an authorized lunch hour. In other words, that they could do that on their lunch hour, you know, so we might could clarify it that way, or would you rather see further clarification? So,
Or we could just say it's prohibited and unless approved by the county administrator.
I don't want to, I don't
I don't
think,
mean prohibited unless approved by the county administrator.
This,
we don't want, the thought behind this was to eliminate outside people coming in and soliciting, or soliciting for a business, you know.
walking through here and selling Avon to everybody.
That's right, you know, to eliminate
I
that.
just take that out completely, no solicitation at all. Because there's no time that's not working time.
But what if you go up there and you want to sell pancake tickets for your children because they're doing a fundraiser at London Elementary School or Chipley High School or wherever?
Yeah,
You don't want to eliminate them being able to speak to the coworker while they're working, walking to the trash can or something, you know, or maybe any outside.
Well, you got 15
solicitation.
minutes, 20 minutes before work and after work. But what I'm getting at is, if you try to be that, brush everything with a broad stroke, this solicitation item could be 4 pages, you know what I mean?
Why don't you
There's
just-
another reason this is in here. If you have an open door policy for people selling cookies, you've got an open door policy for a union representative to come in. You gotta treat.
I'll just put no solicitation during working hours. And they can take care of that prior to or before that. And we all
Just
know
shorten
good
the
and well
whole
that
thing.
if I have my kid selling cookies, that
Gotcha.
everybody knows it and they're gonna take care of it. So
Right.
just, you just call
And
it.
we'll just make one short
I'm just one
statement.
commissioner now. Is that good with y'all?
Is
You want
that-
to just take that sentence out? Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't have a
Okay.
problem with that.
all right, we'll do that.
Strike those.
Yeah.
Take out that
That's
sentence.
the term. Okay, the next item is on page 16, under part-time employees. We've defined that as employees who work less than 32 hours per week. Because in the handbook, we refer to 30-hour employees are eligible for benefits. And that's because the Affordable Health Care Act requires that. It was recommended that why don't we just say 30 hours across the board instead of 30 and 32, just make it 30 hours period.
If you're already giving them the benefits for a 30 hour.
Well, we have to give them the
That's
help.
what I'm saying.
And that will change a lot of sections. It'll ping pong and change, but we didn't put a comment on every section. We'll just change it throughout, if that's what y'all want.
That
I'm
sounds
good.
good.
I'm good with
Change
that.
it to 30?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're already doing it.
All right, good deal. The next section will be, the next one will be on page 25. Under longevity increases. Right now, we get a 1.5% every 3 years, okay, on the anniversary date of the employee. There's been 2 recommendations. One, well, in the current, in our policy as it's rewritten here, the recommendation, we had put that it wasn't just given, it was if they had some type of disciplinary action or substandard performance, they wouldn't be eligible for it. And we defined that within the last 12 months. A couple of the recommendations that we had here, one of them says to remove longevity increases altogether. The other one said, let's make it 24 months instead of 12 months.
For no, the 24 months would be for no written reprimands or,
Any type of performance improvement plan,
Anything put in your file reference.
What about unsafe acts?
unsafe, well, if it's documented as an unsafe act, there should be
There
some
should be a
documentation
reprimand.
for it.
There should be some kind
Yeah.
of,
and I like the 24 month, but I want our supervisors to know and our department heads know that that's going to require them to give an accurate and honest evaluation, and don't be light-handed with the disciplinary action
Because of this.
because of that.
Right.
That's going to circumvent.
And then the other thing that I want to bring up too, we're giving longevity raises and Board of County Commissioners, the budgets that we're at, I mean, we have no say with Mr. Naker, Mr. Carter at this time. And perhaps some of the clerk's positions, what are you doing with your non-county employees, ones that's just strictly the state funded? Are they getting the longevity wage, Brett?
No.
And then, see, like the sheriff's department that is funded through here, they're not doing it.
I would,
At all.
the board's employees that are under the clerk don't get this either. Don't get the 1.5%.
How do you justify that? Well,
Well, we justify that because she
They're clerk
doesn't check
employees.
in.
that's right.
Yeah, they're clerk employees and she doesn't,
And she gives them a raise when she, you know.
when she thinks it's warranted. You know, she doesn't go by our rules for her increases.
As change in positions or
Absolutely, yes,
steps
yes.
are made in
Nor would
office,
she,
those are
you know,
considered.
yeah.
But we don't do longevity raises.
I've never been a fan of longevity raise, period. I think that a merit raise is the best way. If you do a good job, you get paid for what you do. You know, that's just the way the world works. If you're not doing your job, then you sure, I don't believe me and Alan deserve the same pay. You know what I mean?
Say that. I agree with that.
Well, now, if Alan gets anything from his dog, he might have to reach out.
That is true. But no, all jokes aside, but I don't agree that a person that's not doing the job that not necessarily they're not doing their job, but a guy's doing a better job, that guy deserves more money, of course.
Okay,
The only
so,
concern about that is in a lot of your field positions, you don't have enough range there for them to get step increases to move up. Once you hit a certain point, then you're just there, unless you just leave.
No, I think we got.
We're eliminating the step
Yeah.
increases.
yeah, we didn't.
We're eliminating that
I didn't mean to say step
Okay.
increase. I meant like classification changes.
Okay.
There's just, once you reach a certain classification, you're not
There-
going anywhere.
that's
There's
right.
only,
A heavy 3, heavy
That's
equipment
it.
operating
Well,
3.
you would get the across the board raise or
Right.
the cost of living raise, whatever the board gives.
We're not gonna take that out of it.
You
We're
would
just not
still
making it.
get that.
oh yeah, I know you get that, but what I'm saying is, and that's just the way it is, that there's certain areas, when you reach a certain point, unless you want to
It's
leave,
actually all of them.
say, Road and Bridge and come to the sheriff's office, or go somewhere, you're just stuck there.
That's with any job in the world. You're maxed out at your maxed out.
But
Well, in any position that you may have, Alan, you've got a maximum amount. When you reach that, you're done.
Ours pretty
it's time
much
for you to go
maxes
into a
out
different
real
job.
quickly,
But
though.
we don't have enough jobs for them to go into, I
But
think.
no,
that's
no,
what I'm
no,
saying.
I mean, yeah, that's just kind of, you hit a point where,
But we-
and if you enjoy your job and you like what you're doing, I don't know.
what do you start?
I'm just playing devil's advocate on this.
What do we start
I've
out
never had a
as
longevity.
a laborer? It's a H. I don't need the pay. I just need to know the code. What do we call that when you start out in the county as a person that's coming in, Johnny? HEO1.
Oh, okay, classification.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, as HEO1, your goal is to be. What's the next classification from HEO1? What's it?
2,
2.
and then a 3.
Then a 3.
There's-
So when you start out, your goal is to be promoted throughout your field. Once you reach the top, then
Put it on the field.
If you're an excellent dump truck driver, and that's your skill set, you know, you have to become a front end loader operator to
and
move up.
that's where that man's job and Danny's job comes into play for merit raises.
We don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have an opportunity to do some of that with this, yes.
Because the way it is now,
Yeah.
it's impossible.
It's
Yeah.
not easy to do it, but it'll be easier to do it.
After we get
Yes,
deeper into
you know.
this, then that will take care of the other. On the merit side. But, and the board knows that throughout time that you'll have to do a cost of living adjustment. You know, it's common sense that sooner or later, that consumer price index is going to justify a cost of living raise.
It's just like the diesel contract. I mean, we've got people up to speed. I mean, we've done our payroll study. We've got people up to speed. Everybody's inside of the range.
Almost.
And I mean, it's been.
Who ain't in the ring?
Them two.
I don't even know what.
We ain't even know what
I don't
classification
even know. I just put them to animal control, so. But yeah, I say just remove it.
To remove longevity altogether?
And then the board will do the cost of living raises and then the merit raises once we get deeper into it with Johnny and Danny. And Mr. Massey, that will be, and it's fair for the employees. So they're not waiting on that every 3 years just to get a raise. They can get a raise every 6 months if it's justified.
It ain't fair to the person that's supposed to get one next week.
Well,
You've been waiting 3 years to get that
You got some
1.5%.
I think we need to take special exception to that.
would we not want to
All of a sudden
maybe
it's gone.
carry it through the end of this year and
Yeah.
then do away with it January 1? I mean,
Or January 2.
because we've already given a couple of people this year a raise, or, that's just a thought.
You're gonna have that either way. Well, I've been here 2.5 years. You know, third year, 6 months away. So you're gonna have to do that in a run anywhere as you look. Them individuals that are looking at a wage increase, maybe this budget cycle, could we look at that with a special exception and
Well, couldn't
have
Johnny-
whoever their supervisor may be, go to that supervisor and then put them in for that wage increase on the run, and then start new at fresh it.
Well, if their evaluation merits it.
There you
John,
go.
you know what I mean, John? And it's gonna give you some teeth as a supervisor that, hey, when I ask you to do something, I expect you to do it, or I expect you to go above and beyond.
And smile when you're doing it.
So that Johnny, if it justifies his evaluations, then give him the power that we bestowed upon him.
Let me say something real quick, just to interject. I believe that people should be rewarded for the job they do. And I believe that evaluations are a good thing. But we have to be consistent, and we have to deliver the same message with each evaluation. We're not currently doing evaluations. Now, we do sit down with employees, but there's nothing organized saying, this is our policy. This is how we're going to move forward. So if we do this, we need to make sure that we have all that in place. So when we start, moving forward, we're consistent with every.
How about this, continue on as we're going right now to the end of the budget year. By the end of the budget year, everyone has an evaluation in file, a good evaluation in file. And then next budget cycle,
We've got to establish a procedure.
that's what I'm saying, so you've got 6 months to establish it.
We can do that.
You think we can get everybody evaluated?
You can have the process started.
I don't think evaluating is gonna be the problem. We gotta get the process.
That's right. I don't need everybody evaluated, I just need a policy in place by next budget cycle.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I apologize, I may have said it incorrectly.
Okay.
I need a policy in place by
Okay,
next
that's good.
budget cycle for merit raises. And Johnny be a part of it, Mr. Massey be a part of it, so they know,
Whatever department it is.
so they know what we're asking them to do.
And then, we're gonna have to hold supervisors accountable
Yeah,
when they do those evaluations.
whether it be in the planning, the building
Yeah.
department, wherever it is.
Absolutely, that's what I mean, all
So what we'll
supervisors.
do is we'll get all department heads and supervisors and we'll get some training on this.
Yes,
Public don't work
okay,
very well.
all right, good deal.
One other, could we go ahead and talk about this
Yeah.
since we're in the classification and pay section?
Yeah, let me make sure I'm understanding. So are we moving the longevity
Were we
now?
moving those, or?
Period.
Till the end of the budget, you continue on to the end of the budget season.
Okay. But it will go away.
After the budget cycle. That way we'll have a policy put in place where our department heads can evaluate their employees and give raises according to.
It would be
So
based
we'll
on-
just put that in, a note on the bottom saying to be deleted.
I think we need to put it in there that, for the remainder of this fiscal year,
And then all future races will be based on.
Yes.
Merit. Does the board feel comfortable with that?
It's worth a try.
Yeah, no, fiscal year, not fiscal year.
No, fiscal,
Yeah.
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 In section 3.
Is this thing coming in?
Yeah, this whole section, the whole section on longevity increases will be deleted. at the end of this fiscal year.
There's no,
Yeah, that's good, I like that. That's what
Okay,
we're.
all right, good deal.
And do you want to?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about
Okay,
this.
we wanted to, get your approval to do away with that old pay scale and let had all the step increase, well, they didn't get step increases, but it was how you did promotion. And
That's the new one.
this is the new one, and the old one was adopted back in 2007, and the salaries are all out of range. This is all in accordance with our new classification plan, the study that we
we
had.
should have already adopted this.
Well, the board never really did. We've been following it to
We have been
advertise,
following
but
it.
we really want something official.
Now, we don't want it to be part of the policy, because when there's across-the-board raises, we may have to adjust pay ranges, but just your approval to use this, official approval.
Absolutely. I'll make a motion that we give them that if that's necessary.
Unless you want to make some changes to it.
Yeah.
Not right now, I don't.
Okay. All right.
So your motion is to adopt the Washington County classification pay schedule?
Yes.
I'll second.
And this is the one that we done paid that money for.
We paid big bucks to
Yeah,
get it
it
done,
is.
so.
Yeah.
I have a
But we
motion,
have been following.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Okay, great. Leave and benefits on page 31. Wait a minute.
Okay. I
31?
just wanted to, I guess, see,
28, page
now,
28.
and this is just something that comes to my mind that I forgot to address. At the present time, when we have employees, our non-exempt employees work a 40-hour week, anytime you physically work over 40 hours, it goes into overtime. At this time, an employee can actually get paid for 48 hours in a week because they'll use leave time. Say on Monday, they take 8 hours of leave time. And then they go down Tuesday, Wednesday, and on Thursday, they work 8 hours of overtime because we had a lot of rain and they're trying to get things straightened out. The way I'd like to see it done is they wouldn't use any leave in that pay period. We would offset
Where
the
you would
leave.
reduce it.
Well, I've never had it come before that you could, leave could make you go into
It
overtime.
does here though.
Well, it really doesn't pay them overtime,
It
it's
pays
paid
straight
straight
time.
time.
But they're getting more than their regular paycheck.
Yeah, but I never,
I think we should offset that leave for that week,
Yeah.
and still they get 40 hours of pay, and they wouldn't use that 8 hours
Yeah,
of leave
right.
time.
That might be
Yeah.
6 hours.
yeah, I completely agree with that.
Absolutely, and they may only have to use 2 hours of the leave if they only work
That's correct.
6 that next
Yeah.
day. But we don't need to pay them for 48 hours that week, because we don't need to pay them that 8 hours of annual when they really made it up working overtime.
I would save all
Yeah,
my
I've
leave time for
I've
that.
never seen
Oh, yeah.
where that happened.
Yeah,
Can I address this? Because sometimes we have this problem as well, and I generally make my staff offset this, but something that might be considered is also when there's a holiday, where, you know, we have somebody who's getting a holiday pay on Monday, but then their work Tuesday through Friday, but then they have an outreach event on Saturday, so they end up getting paid for their holiday on Monday, and then they're straight 40 hours.
That's a little bit different. That's different.
And I'm talking
We've
about-
addressed that in the procedure, how to handle
But that is
Yeah,
complicated.
it is. No, I don't believe that you should be able to use annual leave to accrue more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
All right,
That's good.
That's good. Okay, so we'll write that in
Okay.
our final word.
Okay, then if you turn to page 31.
It's cold.
Under holidays, okay. There's been a recommendation to remove President's Day and Good Friday and replace it with a floating holiday, with one floating holiday. Okay,
So remove Good Friday.
and President's Day.
I'm against leaving Good Friday.
And if you do that, I pray that you won't do it because Good Friday is Friday week.
No, we're not
And
going
there
to
may
this
be,
year.
and there may be people who have plans because of this.
Well, effective immediately, y'all want to change it?
No, we're just saying,
Let me-
we're just saying.
Let me ask this, why, if we're still gonna get the same amount of time, what would be the benefit of the county for that?
Based on this recommendation, it would not be.
It would not, we would be losing one holiday.
Yeah, you'd take away 2 holidays and replace it with 1. I will tell you that in looking around,
I got you, floating person, one holiday, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I could see like President's Day, and then if you did have a floating holiday, then you would have staff working on that day.
But I don't like that, just simple reason, if we're gonna give a, because I want the staff, it's tough on that man, especially when I keep saying Johnny, is because if he has a project going on, it's better for him to have everybody out one day. Than half his workforce taking a personal holiday on Thursday, another half on Wednesday. At least he knows what he's got.
And there's one more thing you gotta track.
I know.
And the school board observes it, and the people that have children have to make exceptions on that day.
I don't like that just simply for reason for public works.
I'm just telling you, that's one thing I would call it. I'm good with it waiting.
so what is the pleasure of the board with this?
I would leave it like it is. That's just my opinion.
If we're not going to benefit and gain anything out of the board, then I don't see.
I'm not getting ready to get crowded anymore.
Well, listen, you're dressed Easterly, so I wouldn't say.
I wore this in support of Good Friday.
All right,
I think we ought to call it Easter Monday.
we're good, Jack. I think we're good.
All right, so we're good to leave it.
Yeah, I don't see, if we was receiving a benefit. it'd be
Before
different.
you turn from there, down in the next sections, we didn't make a note of it, but there was, in our recommendation in this policy, we wrote, because of listening to commissioners and what we thought you wanted, we had written to change the Thanksgiving holidays, any holiday like Thursday and Friday.
Christmas and Thanksgiving. is
Yeah,
when
now
it-
that's the two I got exception with, because that turns out to where, man, it's tough to get anything done during that month, 2 months.
Well, we fixed that to say that, for example, if it's, let's use Public Works as an example. They work Monday through Thursday, and they're off on Fridays. Thanksgiving, Thursday and Friday are holidays, so they would take Wednesday and Thursday, and they would only work 2 days that week. And the way this policy is written is they would work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but you would pay them for that Friday holiday. They would get Thursday off, and you would actually pay them in addition to that 4 days for that Friday holiday. There was a recommendation made that we left out to just stay with the current policy. It only was affected us once or twice a year, you know, and just leave it like that.
So is that a wash, but we get one more day productivity?
Yeah.
It's really not a wash, you're out an extra day pay
Yeah, it's an extra day pay
if you do it that way.
instead of a day off.
For, not every employee, but it would be those employees that are normally at work off.
I don't like it. It's hard to deal with, but I think that's the only choice we have under the.
How was that sold to the board to give the Friday after Thanksgiving on a 4-day work week? I just can't fathom that.
Why they got that holiday? Everybody, well, I don't say everybody,
But-
all municipalities get Thursday and Fridays for, the Thanksgiving holidays.
I agree with that, but on a 4-day work week, you're giving a guy a day off when he's already off.
Well,
You
it's.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and we used to do that. That was something, that was one of the only unusual things that wasn't with DOT, that wasn't the same throughout. The maintenance engineers could determine what they're going to do with that Friday. Some yards would close Monday,
That's
close the entire yard. One yard always gave the employee those hours, and then they used them however they felt like, most of them around Christmas. But, I mean, that's a common occurrence, but we always shut down Monday. I like the idea of shutting down on Wednesday, to where you got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Monday, everybody's
Back full speed.
And-
full speed, because Thanksgiving week, as a whole, people tend to take off.
They travel.
And they tend to take leave during that week also, in
Exactly.
conjunction with.
All I gotta say was a good salesman that sold Friday on a day off.
Well,
It'd been a hard sell for them to sell.
I think they did, it's because the thought was
Everybody's off.
that all employees are entitled to the same benefits. They're working 40 hours,
Yeah.
you know.
So they're entitled to 2 days.
Yep.
You know,
But,
I
so,
know the pay may not be very, it's decent pay in Washington County, but our benefit package for our employees is
Second to none.
second to none.
It's pretty good. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
Okay, do we want to leave it the way it currently is?
so we'll go back and rework this to give them Wednesday and Thursday off, okay? Instead of paying them for,
Yeah, I don't
That's
want,
right.
I don't want
That's what I would
additional
do.
day
But what are
pay.
you gonna do on each Friday holiday?
I think it's great. I would rather see it go
Well, each
back
Friday,
to.
don't-
Do what
you don't-
now?
Each Friday holiday, Good Friday.
Okay, the policy also addressed that. If Friday is a normal day off and the holiday falls on Friday, Thursday is observed.
Okay.
And that's just, we had not changed that
All right,
portion of it.
It was just the 2-day that.
When it was the 2-day one is what we had
I
changed.
beg your pardon?
But when, and that, if you make it consistent that way, then people can plan around it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would rather see it be
As long as we're
consistent.
consistent, because we got 5-day-a-week employees too.
Or,
Affected by
well,
the same holiday, as long as it's consistent.
Well, they won't
it's fair to
observe it,
everybody.
they won't observe it on Thursday, they'll observe theirs on Friday.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
theirs will be
that-
Thursday, and Friday. It'll just be 4-day employees, and you gotta take that extra consideration for Wednesday.
okay.
But, and just for clarification for the public, for sure, because it could get misconstrued, they're only paid for an 8-hour day on their holidays. They're not, is that correct, or are they paid for a 10-hour day?
They're paid for 10 hours.
Okay, well, how
That's
does?
what we're doing.
Okay, well, how does the 8-hour employee justify that on Friday?
They only work 8-hour days. You know.
Well, they would all probably work
You don't-
10s.
Well, no, they have to stay later during the week. So
Yeah,
they wouldn't want to do that.
There's a lot of people that don't want 14s.
Yeah, there's a pros and cons to it all.
It'll be a bit of worms open up, let's leave it on. Because anyways, let's leave it on. I'll,
The only way we can fix that is put them all on 5-day a week.
You could do that.
That's the only way you can fix it and make it even across the board. Y'all want to tackle that?
Section 7.
Section 7, okay. All right, the next
Well,
one.
hold on. One thing we wanted to mention also on sick leave, page 35,
Yes.
is right now we have 2 sick leave pots for some employees. We have a critical emergency leave bank, which is still their leave. It's been rolled over because they were good stewards of their leave. But we'd like to put all of it in one pot and just call it sick leave. The critical emergency leave bank, the policy stated that they couldn't even use that leave unless the board approved it. But it's their sick leave, and I know we've brought those to y'all, and y'all said, why did we have to approve it? It's their leave. So if we put it all in one pot,
And when they leave, they got paid for a portion of it anyway.
They get paid
So
for
it doesn't, you know, it doesn't create more of a liability for the county.
But they only get paid for 1 quarter.
that's in the new policy.
That's
the new
right.
policy.
Good, that's what I wanted. Okay.
Yes, okay.
All right.
On page 39. Under bereavement leave, there was a recommendation to specify the days off that would be the day before, the day of, and the day after the funeral.
What if you had to travel out of town? What if your funeral was in, you don't get paid 3 days regardless,
Yeah.
Yes.
you know?
And it don't always work out. I mean, it's, being in that business, I can tell you, leaving it flexible is much easier, because you
And we're
can't,
mandated by the government for bereavement.
and you can't come up with all the
Not
scenarios.
3 days.
Not 3 days.
Not 3 days.
2. It's the day of the funeral, wasn't it? That was 2.
No, normally they give 2 days.
2 days.
But
I
I,
think the state law was
I don't
one
think
though.
there's a requirement you can't be.
well, that may be.
don't know, the
But
state-
I checked with the surrounding counties, I checked their manuals, because we were gonna take it back to 2.
That's what the state does,
Right.
But the counties, the other counties were getting 3.
And I may have brought it to y'all, but But I do, and I believe that you're gonna give them 3 days, and even if you have to go to Texas, they're not coming home until the day after the funeral. So if you give them the day before, the day of the funeral, and the day after the funeral, they've got their 3 days and you're specified. And it's okay if they want to stay 3 days after.
But what if they don't have a funeral? What if they died and they're just going to be with family?
Do people die and not have a funeral?
Yes.
We just had one burn. I was
Yeah.
kind of shocked, but.
Yeah, we have tons of them. They'll have a family gathering, they'll have a family meal. There's so many variables in that. I mean, it's kind of hard. And what is a funeral? I mean,
If you don't give them 3 days, I don't care what 3 days they pay.
I don't even,
Yeah, you're paying them for it, the question.
I mean, how many people not having a funeral?
We
I
just
guess
had,
we should ask Charles.
I don't know.
we just had one that,
I got one for you.
make it all right.
I have people request I throw the beans in the trash, whatever. I mean,
That'd be good.
But I'm good with the policy as it was.
I wasn't good with the way it was.
No,
It
we
was
changed
open-ended the way it was.
What you mean?
You can go to, your family was in Alaska, you can take off a month.
But you only pay for 3 days.
This one,
yeah,
that's not the original one.
No.
I'm good with the way it's printed here without.
Yeah, I apologize.
I would go
should've-
2 days, but I would.
All right, the other recommendation there is, right now, we require proof. We require either a newspaper, I'm just, or something to show that there was a death in the family.
I hope we don't have anybody employed that would do that.
I had a guy with me one time, had 12 grandma.
We could just substitute that with right, make a note of the relationship.
Yeah, a lot of people are not running obituaries anymore.
Yeah.
So that's hard to come by. I mean,
Well, we could just get the name of the relationship.
Yeah, as long
and go
as they
from there.
provide that it's, and the.
if they gave you the name of the funeral home and you wanted to call and check on them.
Takes out aunts and
Verify.
uncles and cousins and all that. It just sticks with immediate family. But as long as they make a note that it was my mother's funeral, or, is that good enough?
Yeah, I would find that insulting, you know.
Yeah, I'm just glad you put current spouse. We got some that can take off months.
The policy that we're operating under now is pretty broad with who to take off for. This is a little more limiting, and yet it covers the immediate family.
And it's hard to figure out everybody's, I mean, some people have, parents that they love more than their parents, you know what I mean? They're not really their parents, but they call them parents and they raise them, and it's not legal. I'm telling you, you just, his, hers, ours, and theirs in today's climate is just.
But you got to have a, you can't have.
I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm not saying to change
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
I'm not saying to change that. What I'm saying is if they're a good employee and they go after their supervisor, they'll probably get easier.
Well, we sort of got inside discussion.
I understand.
A lot of entities have gone to straight paid days off, so they don't have to track if somebody went to the doctor or didn't go to the doctor. You've got 10 days off. Whatever you want to do in your 10 days is fine, but now's probably not the time to tackle that, but maybe the next time you look at this as something you want to consider. It makes it easy for a supervisor not having to track, well, what doctor did you go to?
Well, I have a heartburn giving somebody sick, and the person, you're encouraging them to be sick. Why would you want to do that?
Well, those should be the people who don't get good reviews by their supervisor.
It should, and right now, we require,
Give them more
I
vacation.
forget how we require here, but they're required to bring a doctor's note after 3 days. After 3
I'd still rather
days.
give them more vacation, I'd encourage them. to
Yeah,
be
and
sick.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I'm not opposed to that at all.
Or, as the attorney said, paid days off.
Yeah.
Well, if y'all want us to change it.
Well, we'll work on that.
Okay, all right. Okay, on page 42, section 8, the leave of absence policy, Mr. Chipley recommended that we put a lead in that says any medical leave of absence will run concurrently with FMLA. that's the way we work it now.
That's the way we
but
do
just
it.
want to put it in writing,
Okay.
you know. And then on page 60. Okay.
What did you say? What did you say, Trish? She's got gloves on, and she's wiping her nose, and you're just now discovering it's cold. Todd, don't touch it. Todd, don't touch it. Don't touch it, Todd.
We're just trying to make sure everybody's using their seat.
Is this one too? It says it's all, what is that all?
Hit over right now.
Don't turn
I read that paper down like 66. My legs are getting cut.
It says 69.
The rest of the meeting will go fast if you start. You don't want to.
Yeah.
Yes. Told me what they said.
Mr. Officer, I'll let you know if I did adjust the thermostat.
You know what he's
All right, where are we at now?
Okay, on page 60, under the criteria for overnight vehicle assignment, in our current policy and this one, it states that overnight vehicle assignment would be considered and evaluated on an individual basis. And it also says that
It'll be reviewed annually.
reconsidered annually. There's a recommendation that we follow this procedure. It hasn't been followed.
And it says that they'll fill out an application, you know, applying for the overnight vehicle, and we can't even find an application, but that's what the old policy said.
Yeah.
So
We'll have to develop
we'll
that.
develop that and a committee maybe to review and decide if it's in the county's best interest.
Definitely, and then the GPS is definitely something that you need on there just for.
And place GPSs on everything we have.
Yeah, I've already, yes, no, that was already in form of a motion, 6 months ago, 8 months ago.
Well, we did put some on some vehicles, but they're not on all vehicles. So we'll go back and do them on all of them. So we want to follow the policy with regard to the vehicle assignments, and we'll do that.
Does the board want to appoint a committee to review?
Why don't you let,
Jeff, can you take care of that? Would you not have a commissioner's help?
Except for his, we may take his away from him.
Yeah. Mr. Dorner, you want to help him with that?
Okay.
You're
So,
closest to him, and I'm looking that way, so that's the first thing you see. You can work your way back this way.
all right.
That'll work.
And then we'll do that. Okay. That takes care of our changes. Now, any of the changes that you recommended, would like for you to vote on it with those changes, or do you want to see a final copy and read through it?
We would love to have that final, you know, in place April 1st, if y'all would make it effective April 1st with the changes that y'all have told us tonight.
I'll set the motion to make the changes, and that was discussed today in our employee handbook, and implement April 1.
So, second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Lewis, second by Commissioner Kent. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes, thank you.
It's only been 3.5 years for, I don't know, I am so glad that thing is finally done.
But now, there's been a lot of changes to the street too.
Oh, yeah, no, it's,
That's been a working document.
it's had a life of its own for a while.
I'd like to have
We're
a
gonna-
pretty book when you get it.
I know that. We'll be meeting with employees, and we'll also be getting with the clerk's office. There's some other changes in there.
Okay,
You know, and that's why we didn't want it effective today. so,
Sure.
To give us some time.
Thank you.
We need to adopt this as well.
Yes.
And,
the drug test.
yes, sir, and there's some new laws in the DOT portion of it about a clearinghouse and all, and so there's really nothing that we can change if we wanted to.
I never would have dreamed that this was not a living document in Washington County.
We do have one.
Okay.
It's just, it's not in accordance
Nothing
with the law.
compared to that.
It's
Yeah.
not in accordance with
Well,
the law.
this is the law.
That's
It is.
exactly.
I'll make the motion that we adopt that.
Yes. And I'll-
The motion is to adopt the DOT, Florida Motor Carriers Association Control Service Handbook.
And the non-DOT,
State mandate.
Yeah.
which is for safety sensitive.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
All right, I know that he needs one, we'll take a recess for 10 minutes, re-adjourn, at 11:10.